two models that we're talking about launching is the ZT600, which is the replacement for the 110Xi4, and this is the ZT600 we have here, and the ZT620, which is a 6.6-inch print width printer. That's the replacement for the 170Xi4. And then, as I mentioned, we have an RFID version of this model and an RFID version of this model as well. So if you know the RFID model of the 110, it's really the same kind of capability. So UHF, RFID, and one of the big advantages of the way we implement RFID is the ability to detect where that RFID chip is within the label, so automatic calibration on that label. So some competitors, or not some competitors, some label converters, if you think about an RFID label, they can put that chip anywhere in the label that they want, and it varies by manufacturer. And so one of the challenges that you have is, from a printer perspective, is detecting where within that label that chip is so that you can encode it properly and accurately. So we have that ability, the way we have the RFID mechanism designed is to automatically detect where that chip is within the label and then calibrate it based upon that location. So as we designed the next generation printers, one of the things that we really focused on was making the printer easy to use. And the biggest thing we did mechanically was we changed the print head mechanism. So if you ever had an opportunity to load a 110 model, if you could do it, I mean, if you did it a lot, it was easy for you to do it. But if you did it, infrequently, it was a pain in the butt, right? You're shaking your head. It was a pain in the butt to load it. So for customers who have a lot of turnover in their workforce or seasonal workers, needing to teach them how to load the media got to be cumbersome in some cases. Again, if you used it every day, it wasn't a big deal because we've got thousands and thousands of these installed. But what we've done on this model is we've changed it to a slide loading print mechanism. So basically the label, you just slide it in from the side of the printer, and it's loaded. The same thing with the ribbon. The ribbon slides in from the side. So much quicker, much faster, less chances for error when you're loading it from the side. So that's one of the biggest change. Again, this mechanism, the way it was in the Xi, it's been around for, again, 20 plus years. So it's going to be a big change for our customers, which is a positive change, we think. The other thing we've done is that we have a lighted pathway. So you can't necessarily see it on the printer unless I turn it off and on here. There's arrows. See the green arrows come on and off? Yep. You can see them on the slide as well. So as you start loading the media, if you do something wrong, that arrow is going to come on. You have one pathway for the labels and one pathway for the ribbon. So it's going to show you immediately that you made an error. Again, another way to help guide the user to properly load the media. A couple other things we've added. So we have an interior light. We've added this light to this model, and we also have it on the ZT400. So it doesn't seem like much, but the idea is if you're in a warehouse or a factory, it's kind of dimly lit. Just like your refrigerator at home, you close it, the light goes off, you open it up, the light comes on. The idea is it's going to illuminate the inside of the printer, so if you're loading media, you can see inside the printer easier. Or if you're servicing the printer, changing the flat roll or the print head, you can see inside easier to make that service change. So a couple other things from a usability perspective. Turn this around on the table here. See the front panel of the printer, it's now color. We're going to be launching a touchscreen version sometime later this year, but the initial version is just a basic color version. You can see the background color changing red and yellow. So the idea with that is from across the floor, the plant floor, the warehouse floor, you can tell immediately whether the printer has a problem or not. If it's red, the printer's down, and you got to take some kind of action. If it's yellow, you're out of media, low on media, so it's a cautionary type of status. So again, the color display provides that additional level of being able to recognize any kind of issue, any kind of problem. And then we've changed the GUI. If you go into the screen itself, we've got more icons. Again, it makes it more intuitive, more easier to use when you get into the GUI. Then the other thing we focused on is ease of maintenance. So again, if you had the opportunity to change a print head on an Xi, it was a little bit cumbersome. You had to kind of dig your fingers back in there, pull the cables out. You had 2 cables you had to detach and plug them back in. So we've changed the printhead design to what we call a socket design. So it basically just snaps in to the mechanism. So you don't have any kind of connectors like you had in the XI. So we think it's much faster to change the printhead and less chances of error when you're making those connections. And then the platen roller, also much faster and easier to change out. You still have to take the cover off to access the screw to remove the platen roller. But one of the big things we've changed was if you did it the right way, according to our documentation, to tension the platen roller on the XI, you had to have weight on the platen roller to tension it properly. And now this is all done through this auto tensioning mechanism. So it's much faster, much quicker to change the platen roller than it was previously in the XI. So we think those two things, the printhead and the platen roller, since they're consumable items that you change frequently based upon volume, we think that's going to save downtime and increase the speed of servicing of those particular items. The other thing, it seems common sense, but when we first designed the XI, we put the communication ports on the motherboard. So if you had to swap out, that was on the XI model, if you had to swap out a bad COM port, you had to change out the whole motherboard. And now with the ZT610, those boards are separated, so we have a separate motherboard and a separate COM board. So if you have to replace the COM board, it's just a board that slides in the back of the printer. So again, much faster, much quicker to deal with that. The other major thing that we focused on was the field upgradability of several of the modules that are media handling and RFID and so forth. So you can see these are the items that you can upgrade in your field. So you can add a rewinder to the printer, you can add a cutter, you can add RFID modules, then add a wireless card to the printer. And this is the time that we estimated it took to do that on the XI, and this is the time we estimate to do it on the ZT610. So for example, RFID, if you needed to upgrade your 110 to RFID, it was a pain. You had to take out the electronics, take out the mechanics. It was like a 2.5-hour job. With the 610, it's 2 or 3 minutes. We have a module that you basically plug into the print mechanism, make a connector and connection, and you're up and running. So much faster, much quicker to install these field upgradable options. So just to point a couple of these things out.
Don't tell the guy, don't tell the customers.
I know.
Yeah, I was saying, you don't have to tell the customer. So I don't know if you can see from there, but this is basically the rewind plate. So you just unscrew the 4 screws, take this plate off, you have the rewind, you plug it in, make a connection, and you're up and running with rewind. It's very fast. Again, from an RFID perspective, it's an RFID module you plug into underneath the print mechanism. Very fast, very accurate. And then any kind of wireless connection or any kind of communication connections, just take out the card here, the panel here, plug the card in, and the printer's going to recognize the card, and you'll be up and running with wireless in just a couple minutes.